I mean, the Pro Bowl, as an example, comes up every single year. Every single year we have the Pro Bowl. And every single year, somehow it manages to get even worse than the year before. And every time I see the Pro Bowl, I'm reminded that really, it's not just a Pro Bowl thing, it's an All-Star Game thing. Like, no All-Star Game is actually any good, except for the MLB All-Star Game. Or at least at one point, it was. I mean, hell, at one point, the American League and the National League actually hated each other's guts. At one point, they wanted to beat the hell out of each other. At one point, that game felt more like a postseason game than it did a regular season game, or an exhibition game for that matter. It just did. I mean, that game used to have serious juice. And it was in this lifetime. Yeah, like, I know Pete Rose ain't coming through that door, much less to run Ray Fosse into the dugout and wreck his career. But that was the one All-Star game in any sport that used to truly kick ass. And the powers that be know this. Why do you think they've jacked with that game as much as they have over the years? Because they're trying to make it matter once again. They're trying to get us to care about that game once again. More importantly, Major League Baseball is trying to get the guys who play in the game to care about that game once again. Except last night, despite all their efforts, it really didn't help, did it? Like, I really am trying to have a good attitude about what I saw last night. I'm not here to hate. I love baseball. I don't hate baseball. I'm trying to have a good attitude about what I saw, except I'm failing. I mean, there were a couple of moments, and I will get to one of them a little bit later on. But that's all there were. A couple of moments and a whole lot of boring and time that I'll never get back that I lost. I mean, remember the night before, Vlad Jr. hit 91 home runs. The guy hit 91 home runs the night before in the Derby. The ball is leaving the yard faster and further than ever before in baseball this season. So where the hell was all that last night? That's what we all tuned in to see last night. Instead, it devolved into a pitcher's duel between like 50 pitchers. The Royal Rumble of pitching. The National League managed all of 5 hits, 16 strikeouts. There were a total of 13 hits, 23 strikeouts. Couldn't have been more boring. American League 4, National League 3, everybody watching 0. Brutal. Now, normally at this point, I'm going to play you a bunch of highlights, but there really weren't any. There was only one set of highlights, and I'll get to that in a minute. And no, I am not interested in how many times in a row the American League has won. Nobody is. Not even the American League. I know the National League isn't, or it wouldn't keep happening. Do you really think that NL players went back into the clubhouse last night and smashed up a bunch of Gatorade jugs because they lost? Of course not. Why would they? They know it's a meaningless game, and last night had all the feel of a meaningless game. But if it's going to be meaningless, at least give us something. Give us some action. Anything. Like, that game was about as exciting as Commissioner Rob Manfred trying to spin that they don't know what's happened to the baseballs. Even better was him saying that Major League Baseball teams do not actually want more home runs. He said that. The commissioner said that. I mean, how rich is that? Manfred trying to spin that home runs suck. And if anything, teams want less of them. You know, because no fan's going to pay top dollar to see the best of the best hit it off the scoreboard. Nobody wants that. Oh, all right, Commissioner. Yeah, teams don't want more home runs. Like, I don't want better callers to this show. You don't want more home runs, Robert. Like Roger Goodell, Adam Silver, and Gary Bettman don't want more scoring in their respective leagues. Hey, Bobo, what are you going to tell me next, Rob? That Dana White is going to eliminate striking? Because what he really wants more than anything else is grappling in wrestling matches. Yeah, great. You don't want home runs. You actually want less home runs. Yeah, well, you got what you wanted last night because they didn't have much in the way of home runs or meaning or action or anything. In fact, by the 7th inning, it was pretty clear that those juice baseballs were not making a difference. So I was hoping that the commissioner would come out of his box and start personally injecting every single guy with bullroids on the way to the batter's box. Hell, the game doesn't count, right? It's just for entertainment, right? Are we not entertained? No, we're not. but we want to be. Next time, let this guy shoot every player full of roids during BP and give us what we want. How boring was last night's game when the National League loaded the bases in the 8th inning with a chance to take or tie or take the lead? I was actually rooting for outs just to get the game over with. Now, there was a brief glimmer of hope and action, and honestly, at that point, I was just done. I didn't even want the action. At that point, I was practically coming off my couch, hitting my knees, begging for the game not to go into extra innings. The only thing worse than that baseball last night would have been more of that baseball last night. Extra innings, free baseball. Normally, free is me. Unless it has anything to do with last night, then I'm reaching into my own pocket to make it go away. In fact, it seems like the only real action last night came before the game, not during the game, but before it, in a meeting between Justin Verlander, Joe Torre, Jim Leland, and at least one other official from Major League Baseball. You see, it would seem that those guys were not all that hyped on Verlander's comments about the balls being juiced and that it was a, quote, bleeping joke. And apparently the old guys let him hear about it. According to Jason Stark, Verlander's teammate Garrett Cole was the one who sent him in for that meeting. Quote, I may actually have facilitated that meeting. I saw Jim and Joe were in Alex Cora's office, and they said hi. Then Jim, in a not profanity-laden way, said, get Justin in here right now. So I came out and I said, hey, Skip wants to see you. And he said, okay. Then he comes back and he goes, man, I just got chewed out. End quote. Joe, Jimmy Smokes, unnamed MLB official. Maybe you should have had a conversation with everybody about making that game exciting last night, because that's the bigger issue here, right? I mean, come on. As my 14-year-old would say, actually? Come on, actually? That's what you're doing a couple of hours before the All-Star game. You're hustling down to the manager's office to call the starting pitcher in so you can rip him a new one. That's the most important thing in that moment. Look, I know you might be bent that a star pitcher and a future Hall of Famer was saying that the baseballs were juiced, but at least that got you the headlines. At least that was a baseball player making news, because last night's game sure wasn't. Like, Twitter's not the best gauge of interest, but there were more people getting worked up about Robert Redford in that meme than they were about the game itself. It's a clip of Redford nodding from nearly 50 years ago, and that was getting nearly as much run as the Midsummer Classic. That's a problem, yo. And by the way, way to handle that situation like pros. Joe, Jimmy Smokes, an unnamed MLB official. Verlander makes comments to Jeff Passan, and then a gang of old men from the league office come down to tell him to shut up. And if anything, that makes me believe that Verlander knew exactly what he was saying. It makes me believe him even more than I did before. Again, I don't want to come down too hard on the game. I know I just lit it up. I know I just smashed it up. And I will balance that with a positive take a little bit later on. And I'm not here to hate. I don't hate baseball. I love baseball. I really do. I really do. If you listen to this show, you know how far back I go with the game, how much I care about the game. I do love baseball, which is why last night disappointed me. I mean, there's some serious issues with that game right now, and last night was further proof of that. The one thing MLB always had over all the other pro sports was an all-star game that actually worked, but not anymore. Not anymore, no matter how many times they jerk with it. Not anymore.